I went to PensaCon this weekend, a convention in Pensacola, Florida. My first time ever being there. An 8-hour drive north, stayed in the same state the whole time, and went into a new time zone. So, new experience for me. Anyways, I went to go see Christopher Lambert, or Christophe Lambert. French actor, never makes it over to America. Nice, rare experience. This was the, 40th anniversary of the Highlander. And so I went to go meet the Highlander. Here is a picture of the two of us together. And of course, I got my obligatory signed 8x10 Highlander photo to add to my collection. And check this out. So I have the Highlander sword, got this signed as well. As you know, I have met and sword trained with the TV Highlander, Adrian Paul, who was the first Highlander I watched. I watched the show before I watched the movie, and I got my sword signed by him, as well as 8x10's pictures with him. So just continues the Highlander collection. In fact, I will be going to Scotland for a week with Adrian Paul to sword train in the original filming locations of the Highlander movie series and television series. So there we go. Pretty cool, right? I also met the guys from Chips, Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox. I watched Chips as a kid. I love that show. And here they are with me, of course, all together in a photo. This was so cool. Look, they're in their California Highway Patrol uniforms. I love it. Actually, I was at the front of the line to get the photo, and ahead of me was one person who was not in line. It was Will Wheaton. Came over to tell them how when he was a kid, they filmed in front of his house in his neighborhood all the time, and he grew up loving them, and it was such an honor for him to meet them, and he got the first photo with them. But interesting to watch their exchange. And here's my signed photo of the guys. And then, as I said on this channel before, it was 1993, 1994. I picked up a magazine at Toys R Us, upcoming movie, Fantastic Four, had photos from the set. I was so excited, could not wait. It looked great to me. Had Dr. Doom, the Thing. They looked awesome, right? Movie never came out. Was able to find out years later that it was never intended for release. Eventually got the bootleg copy at a convention. I owned that. Then they came over with a documentary about it. Well, that movie was filmed in 1994. It was supposed to come out in 1994, whatever it was. Well, the whole cast got back together here in 2026. Here we are together. Big group shot. And they were telling me this is the first time they've all been in a room together in 20 years. And here's my signed photo of the full cast as they appeared in the movie that was never released. And I met Femi Taylor. You may remember her from Return of the Jedi. She was the dancer in Jabba's palace, went down in the Rancor pit, right? Yeah. She even returned for a few more scenes in the special edition, came back and reprised her role, looked exactly the same. Here is a picture of the two of us together. I was surprised when she talked to me. She has a British accent. I didn't see that coming. And here's my signed photo. This is her in the film, down in the Rancor pit. Now, a show I loved and watched, I believe, the first 6 or 7 seasons of, and I'd love to watch more of it because it's still continuing, or at least it continued on for many, many, many more years. Ancient Aliens. Look, I was a fan of the Eric Von Däniken Chariots of the Gods books going back to at least the 90s. I had the books and would read them. He just died recently, a month or two ago, something like that. Well, this show continued on from that. I find it all very interesting, very entertaining, love it, and I love the host of the show. Here he is. Here are us. Here is the two of us together. His name is Giorgio Tsoukalakis. I'm sure I'm getting that name wrong. Is it Greek? Very fun to meet him. And I got this photo signed. There he is in front of the Sphinx. Boy, I got to go there someday. I got to show my mom these pictures because she loves this guy. She watches this show. She loves it too. She doesn't know I met him. I can't wait to surprise her. And then do you guys love The Twilight Zone as much as me? I met Rod Serling's daughter. This is the two of us together. And as you can see, I'm holding a book. Yes, she wrote a book about her father and I got it. It's right here. And she signed it, of course. For Kevin, all my best, Anne Serling. Looking forward to reading this book all about Rod Serling. Yeah! Okay, now let's look at some comics. Years ago at a convention, I came across a guy selling some new comics. He got the rights or whatever, at least he was making new comics about Amazing Man, a Golden Age character that I collect and enjoy. He is the inspiration for Iron Fist. Well, he was back in some new comics called John Amon Amazing Man. Well, the guy was here at this convention, but not only that, he had more issues than I had collected. They were all together in a big trade paperback. See, check this out. The full collection. Well, he said, everyone that worked on this is here. And he pointed, there. So I ran around and I got all of their autographs. Here we are. We have the writer Barry Gregory. We have the artist Stephen Butler. And we have the inking assistant Thomas Floramonte Jr. All signed, the whole collection. And they said they're bringing him back in some more new stories, so can't wait to see those coming out. From Gallant Comics. Here's a picture of us. This is me with Barry Gregory, and this is Stephen Butler, and this is Thomas Floramonte. But they also had this cool trade paperback, Biff Stone, Monster Hunter for Hire. It just looks cool. Look, it's like some manly man dude on his adventures. I want to star as this guy in a movie. It just looks right up my alley. But that's not all. You're not going to believe what else they have. Check it out. A new comic with the Golden Age, Lev Gleason, Daredevil. You know, I am obsessed with this character. Look, I'll show you. Don't believe me? Check this out. Almost fell to my death. See? The statue. The action figure. There's the claw. That's his enemy. Look at that. A sketch card by Fred Hembeck himself. You see all that stuff? Not to mention the comics that I've covered here on this channel. You know what I'm talking about. And then I ran into Michael Golden. I have met him before, got lots of comics signed, but had to get a few more. Because look, he had Spartan X, a Jackie Chan comic that I've always wanted. He drew this, got him to sign it. He had it there on his table, so I got it from him. And he said, you know who co-created this comic? Renee Witterstatter. And you know where she is now? Well, she is an actor's agent, and she is downstairs at Christopher Lambert's table collecting money for him. She is the helper. I'm like, I saw her last night. Oh my God, I get it. So take this comic down to her, get it signed. So here's Michael Golden and I, and here is Renee Witterstatter. See? With the comic. Yeah! And while I was at it, because it was a 3-for-1 deal or however it worked out, I got a few more comics from Michael Golden off his table. Bucky O'Hare, issue 1. This was drawn by Larry Hama, or was it written by Larry Hama and drawn by Michael Golden? It's the two of them, they work together on it. And since I meet Larry Hama all the time, I'll bring this the next time I meet him, because I'm hoping to go to Dallas in a few months and meet him there. We'll see if I actually make that trip. I got a lot of stuff on my plate this year. Way too many trips. But if I do, I'll bring this. I'll get it signed. Hey, double signed comic. Got to do it. And I did say 3, right? Well, I got the Nam issue 2 because I already got him to sign issue 1 for me the first time I met him. So there you go. And now here I came across an artist named Ant Lucha, and he had an array of these acrylic statues that looked awesome, and I wanted one, so I picked one out. Here it is. I'm going to try and angle it so there's not a glare from one of the lights. Look how awesome that is, right? This is the one I thought was best for my collection. This is Robbie the Robot. In fact, this is the highest, it holds the record for the most money ever paid for a movie or TV show prop. This was $5-point-something million for that robot. And with the Space Babe and all that, got to find a place to set this up. Look, it's got Ant Lucia's name there on the base. Here is a picture of me and Ant together, and I couldn't let it just sit with that. He had some of his artwork in comics, and he had these trade paperbacks, volumes 3 and 4. I got them signed because they look awesome, but now I got to get volumes 1 and 2. Because I'm a completist, you know? Then I came across this artist, Brian LeBlanc, and he had like t-shirt designs. Well, the thing that stood out to me was the one on the banner behind him. It was Cthulhu. And you know how I've become obsessed with Cthulhu, going back through all my videos, and how I like now collect every Cthulhu thing I find at a convention. Well, here it was. He had a cool looking shirt. I got the shirt from him. First of all, here's a picture of the two of us together, and you can see that Cthulhu banner behind him. Well, here's a picture of the shirt on my hotel bed. It is over on the left. That is the Cthulhu shirt. In the middle is the Highlander shirt I got at someone else's table there at the convention, and then was able to wear it throughout the convention because it was perfect for the day. And then on the right was another cool looking shirt that I picked up at another table because it has Bigfoot on it. And you know how I've started to collect Bigfoot stuff at conventions. So there we go. Triple threat, yo! But that's not all. Let's flash forward a little bit to the end of my 2 days at the convention, where the final thing I did at PensaCon was I sat and waited for each of my photo ops to come up. And while I'm sitting there in the bleachers of this sports stadium that they held the thing in, the woman in front of me that's working security, she's like messing with me. She's got a TV that has like the schedule next to her, and it keeps shutting off. And she thinks I'm doing it somehow with my cell phone in my pocket, some kind of a hacking job. I wish I had those powers. I don't know if she was joking or not, but she just kept messing with me. And as I'm looking over her shoulder, way off in the distance, out in the middle of the vendor hall, I could see hanging on a wall, Cthulhu. Look at this little video clip. You see how far away that is? Well, when I was done getting my photos, I had to get down there and find it. And I did. Here it is. Okay, it's too big for you to see in this room. It's a full Cthulhu blanket. It's mine now. Here's a picture of it spread out on my hotel bed before I came back home. I don't even know where I'm going to put this. Look, check this out. Cthulhu, my Cthulhu stuff. See? The puppet. Remember him from the first episode of the Atomic Comic Pile? I believe I named him Steve. Cthulhu, 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 Cthulhu. Oh, look, check this out. The original deities and demigods. Let's crack this bad boy open. Cthulhu Mythos. Here we go. There he is. Cthulhu. These were removed by the next edition of the book. Right here. No longer has Cthulhu. Oh, I almost forgot one. Look. Cthulhu. I've got more too. I'm just not going to take you around the whole house. And then I came across the table of inker Tony Cordos. And he had this cool G.I. Joe issue that came out right after I stopped collecting G.I. Joe. And I kind of regretted not hanging on long enough to get this cool cover. So now I have it. He signed it. He inked this. That's not all. He had the uncolored version so you can just see his inking work. Isn't that great? Got it signed as well. And here's a picture of the two of us together. Bum, bum, bum. And then I came to a table where a guy, he said he was the editor of all the comics on his table, had this cool looking 5-issue complete set that I thought looked interesting. I picked it up. Here it is. Trakovi got every issue. He said, you're going to love this. It is like a deconstruction. I know you hear that all the time, you know, like Watchmen and stuff like that. But this is, I believe, the story of a supervillain who goes into therapy to try to reform his ways or something. And then all the other supervillains get dragged into it, and it has like a twist ending you're never going to expect or something. I don't know. The way he explained it to me sounded a lot cooler than I just said, but I love the covers. I love the interior art. And then the story he told me sounded very intriguing. So they're mine now. And it's from Scout Comics. That is the local company right here in Fort Myers, Florida. Now, before we continue, let me show you just a couple of pics with me with some cosplayers. We've got Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Engage. And a little Jawa. Ooh, tiny! Here comes the window cleaner. Now I'll show you some of the comics I picked up. We're going to switch to the overhead cam. I switch by moving it manually. Okay, I'll try to be fast about this. I got a couple of old Daredevil comics, issues 9 and 10. These are now my oldest issues of Daredevil. Not even really a fan of Daredevil. I just started getting them when I started collecting the Golden Age Lev Gleason Daredevil, and I desperately want to get an issue where he's still in the original yellow costume. I have not been able to get back far enough, but boy, I'm getting within months of that. Then I got this old issue of Thor. I've tried to get older and older issues of Thor, and now I've gone back so far that we're back into when it was still originally called Journey into Mystery with Thor. So his first appearance was in issue 83. We've got issue 108, so I'm getting back pretty far, and look, it's got Loki and Doctor Strange. Okay, definitely not my oldest issue of the Avengers. I have issue 18, 19, and 20. This is issue 38, so 20 months after my oldest issue, but I got it because, look, I'm a fan of Hercules. And it was only $10, and it's old. Okay, and here we go. I had to get this. I said at a previous convention that I was able to get Fantastic Four issue 101, which was the final Jack Kirby comic for Marvel before he left and went to DC. And then I said, but I do believe that he did work on issue 102, just not the cover. There we go. He did do the interior. I don't remember. Did he quit while working on this and before he could make the cover? Or was this a stock story? I'll have to read them and see if it fits into continuity or not to know for sure. But now I have this as well. It smells like mildew. Well, that laugh was kind of like Gargamel. And then I got an old issue of Superboy. Definitely not my oldest, but I got it because what's this? It's not Aquaman and it's not Aqualad. It's Aquaboy. And they're fishing. Here's Superboy. This is what's left your friend, Aquaboy. I just got it for the cover. Okay, and I recently talked about how I'm becoming a big fan of these MLJ superhero characters from pre-Archie. This is the first Silver Age appearance of the Web. In fact, I covered a comic about the Web just a few videos ago. Look, there's the shield. Okay, so when I was a kid, like I explained in my very recent Madam Web video, the first Marvel comic I ever got, first superhero comic I ever got was Madam Web's second appearance, Amazing Spider-Man issue 212. Well, sometime after that, my mom got me a 6-month subscription to Amazing Spider-Man, and it began with this issue, issue 236, which was the final appearance and death of Tarantula, which is this giant tarantula character that talks like a man and jumped off the top of a building and killed himself. And I was like, whoa, what a way to start my subscription. And I always wanted to know more about this character. Later on in the 80s at the comic store, I was able to pick up the first issue of Spectacular Spider-Man pretty cheap, and it's got the tarantula again, but it's before he turned into a giant tarantula creature. And then recently I was able to get the first appearance of the tarantula. Now, the tarantula has been announced as a villain in the new upcoming Spider-Man movie. So I get the first and the final appearance, and then this one kind of in the middle. So I was like, can I get all the rest of the appearances? I got all but 2 issues. So he returned in issue 135, but nobody had it at the convention, and it is very expensive, and no one had the Marvel Tales reprint of Amazing Spider-Man issue 135, which is Marvel Tales issue 112, because I would settle for that too. It is so expensive because it is the second appearance of the Punisher. But I wasn't able to get that. But he did come back in issue 147, 148, and 149, and nobody had issue 149. Dang it. But I think he only cameos in it. His story is pretty much in these 2 issues, and then he just has a cameo. But I still need to get it. Well, then he returned in Spectacular Spider-Man issues 1, 2, and 3. See, I was able to get these 2 at the convention. And then he finally comes back to finish out his run in issue 233, 234, and inside here he becomes the giant tarantula. And 235, and this is him coping with becoming a giant tarantula and going crazy, and then it ends with my first exposure to him. Check out how similar these covers are. Raise the camera a little bit. Sorry about the glare, but boy, not very inventive with the covers. It almost makes you think like, do I already have this issue? Do I already have this issue? No, they're all different. But that's when I saw this from Atlas Comics, not the pre-Marvel Atlas, but the mid-70s competitor to Marvel Atlas, the Tarantula. Totally different tarantula character. Let me bring the camera back down. But look, it's another guy turns into a tarantula. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this came up before Marvel's Tarantula. If it didn't, it was shortly afterwards, so it's a contemporary. And yeah, I got it for $2. Can't go wrong with that. And then we'll just finish this out. There was a cool Twilight Zone comic. I wanted to get it because I met Rod Serling's daughter there, and he's got the color scheme of the Lev Gleason Golden Age Daredevil. And then Underdog, my favorite superhero when I was a little kid. Well, that and Hong Kong Phooey. And then this, Tom Skinner, Up from Harlem. I don't know what this is, but 49 cents? What an odd price. And golly, that's so 70s. I couldn't pass this up, especially for $3. And then I'm adding to my classics illustrated collection, of which I have many, many, many. Here we got the classic H.G. Wells stories, Time Machine and First Men in the Moon, and then the Odyssey by Homer. When I go to put these away, I will not be shocked if I don't already have them, but I will be saddened. Okay, that leaves just two things. So, I have this Kenner-style holiday special Boba Fett in exactly the way that he appeared in his animated debut in 1978. And I have the advertised but never released rocket-firing Boba Fett that would be a mail-away figure in 1979 if it had come out. And then I have the actual 1979 figure that's no longer rocket-firing. And then when he actually made his live-action debut on film in The Empire Strikes Back, this is how he looked. And here it is in Kenner style with the accurate gun, all the coloring and decals, or as someone from Britain would say, decals, the antenna up, rocket pack, the, what is that, serape, poncho, panchovilla. So there we go. Well, at the convention, I found his new look, how he came back in his television series, Boba Fett. Well, he actually came back in The Mandalorian, but then he got his own spin-off show where he looked like this. Kenner style, yo. Let's open it. Let's see. Oh, man. Cool. Okay, so check it out. They made the rocket pack the same as the Kenner version, which is not, like film accurate. Look at that. So cool. They even put the little dent in his head. Oh, and they flipped the visor up to the top, so that's neat. And they gave him two guns. You put one in each hand. There we go. Cool, right? And there they are all together. What do you think? Pretty neat, right? I still want a all-white version that he originally was built and designed as. They do have them, but not in the Kenner style. They need one in the Kenner style. And yeah, I got this, version, the nice big one with all the bells and whistles. Comes with multiple guns. I think this one breaks in half like it was chopped with a lightsaber. Comes with the grappling hook that goes on his wrist, so lots of stuff. And I also have this. This was the 30th anniversary release of the rocket firing version. You had to send away the UPC symbols for it. I have this mint on card, but I also have it signed by 6 different men that portrayed Boba Fett on film. All of their autographs. And last but not least, I got this tiny, tiny, tiny E.T. to go with my huge E.T. collection, which is over here, but I'm not going to show you. Or maybe I will. Okay, see? Got my signed Speak and Spell, my TV tray, all my stuff that lights up, all of the ETs, my hand's in the way. I got so much ET stuff. Plus I met so many members of the cast and got stuff signed. This piano I had custom made. It actually plays the theme song when you wind it up. So let's get back to the tiny ET that will now be added to the collection. Okay, let's try and open this bad boy. Look, tiny. The heck is that? Oh, is that like a stand? Cool. He's so tiny. E.T. phone home. Does his neck extend? It sure does. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Hey, okay, so a little hole, little peg. Here we go. Ta-da. That's great. So that's it for now. Hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.